Yep. No one ever has any topics on this podcast.
It's the Christopher McNo Topic Show, 2025 edition. Yeah.
Oh man, I was hoping Shelly was coming back so we could talk wrestling.
No, because all she's going to talk about was AEW and the Japanese AEW cross show that was happening this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Which was actually quite entertaining. And it's really weird that you have an entire style of wrestling here in America, and there's an entire Japanese style of wrestling. And aside from WWE, all the other styles kind of like work together. Like I guess the signals that they use to basically like, hey, I'm going to do this to you, or I'm going to do that to you. And there's also the pre-planning stage, but they're doing perfectly fine, just mixing and matching. And like some people have never wrestled in New Japan, but there's some mess ups here and there, and some cultural things you can definitely tell that are different. But overall, it was kind of fun watching it with her.
I always enjoyed watching Japanese wrestling.
Yeah.
Japanese wrestling and Mexican wrestling are amazing to watch if you've never seen them, but very, very different styles.
I guess we should do the intros now.
Yeah, now we should actually talk about what we're supposed to talk about. You get it this week. I got it last week.
Welcome to the Grumpy Dungeon Master Podcast. I'm Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher, along here with Grumpy DMs Jay, Christian, and Dan.
Hello.
Hello.
There we go.
Hey.
There's Christian. I've yet to hear you say anything.
I don't know anything about wrestling.
Yeah, well, neither do I. I watch there's one wrestler that I like, Dusty Rhodes.
Dustin Rhodes?
Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah, Dusty Rhodes has been gone for a while.
You mean Cody Rhodes?
No, not Cody, his brother.
Okay, so Dustin, yes.
Yeah, Gold Dust.
Gold Dust.
I love watching him. He an old, almost 60-year-old man wrestling in style, but training all the new guys. I really like his WWE characters. I liked his persona, just wrestling. And
conveniently for Christian, who knows nothing at all about wrestling, if you want to start watching it, apparently tomorrow Monday Night Raw is going to be on Netflix going forward.
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah,
I actually have to start tuning in again.
I haven't watched Monday Night Raw in 15 years because I haven't had cable in 15 years, but now that it's actually going to be streaming on Netflix, I'll probably just watch it every week.
So true story. When I was in the hospital about 2 years ago, Monday Night Raw was on the TV while my wife and I were waiting in the waiting room, and I have basically a fever dream remembrance of I don't know, some Scottish wrestler. I don't know. He would like maybe they were even in Scotland. It was a weird fantasy thing that I'm not really sure what was real and what was not, because I had like 104 fever. But it was just nonstop, like people screaming in the waiting room, and then Monday Night fucking Raw.
Well, what year was it?
2022.
So I don't think Sheamus. He was out.
It was either Sheamus, who is Irish, or it would have been.
It's Drew McIntyre. That's this guy's name.
Drew McIntyre.
That's the other one.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre has this whole Scottish Highlander theme going on. He comes.
I knew I wasn't dreaming it, but maybe I was. It's hard to know.
Yeah, he's the plot my wife watches WWE for. So
the plot.
No, like if you go back and you look at some of like the wrestling characters, like I don't know what amount of drugs they were on to create half the characters that they came up with. Like I said, we were talking about Dustin Rhodes.
A large amount.
Yeah.
Cocaine.
So
to look up the Akeem, the African Dream.
Oh yeah. Okay. First off, before you continue with this, Chris, it wasn't all the wrestlers that were on the drugs, although they were, but the creative side, that's all Vince McMahon.
I want to know what he was on, man, because he's got some crazy things. Like I said,
probably
Goldust
cocaine.
Goldust was my favorite character, but that was just like an androgynous cross-dresser that developed over time. Hulk Hogan was his own character. Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, we all know those. But then like Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
That's old school though. Like
those are the ones I'm talking about. The ones from the 80s that had a gimmick with them. Jake the Snake. I come out here with a cobra. I throw cobras at you. Like, that's an amazing tabletop villain.
Yeah.
Just some weird gimmick that you give somebody. So you roll a gnome up. You don't need a random, a random character generator. Just basically throw a dartboard at a list of home improvement supplies. If it lands on like a fucking like refrigerator, and you get a Goliath, so you have Goliath the frosty fridge, and that's the guy. And all he does is make people cold and kill them. There's probably better ones. Do some cocaine first, and then start writing.
So I think our DM for one of our games currently must be doing coke or something, because we actually had a pro wrestling segment last night in our D&D game.
Oh,
yeah. So we were going through this temple, and it was basically a bunch of puzzles and or things that we had, challenges we had to get through. And we go into this one room, and it's literally all these skeletons sitting in chairs, and there's a fucking wrestling ring there. So our fighter decides to be the one doing the wrestling match. He gets into the ring, and then the opponent comes down, which is a giant skeleton plated in obsidian or something or other, and they literally had a wrestling match. We ended up doing outside interference as well. Like our bard distracted the ref, and then I hit the guy with like some ray. I don't even remember what the damn spell was to weaken his damage. Like it was a hell of a lot of fun. Absolutely ridiculous. And for other DMs, you can absolutely include pro wrestling into your games. Just have fun with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, half of them are super creative. Like even like the most recent one, my wife was trying to get me to watch some stuff, and you had I can't remember any of the wrestlers' names, but essentially they were New Orleans, like Southerner, like swamp men that did voodoo.
Is this AEW or
WWE? Had the
that
wrestler that died recently,
Yeah,
very tragically recently.
oh god, Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt, yeah. So like that whole crew, it's just you just take a gimmick and you just take it to the extreme and you just run with it. So you don't really need much of an idea. You just need one thing and then dial it up to 11, and that is what it is. I bet you they don't have no idea of what their characters are really going to be until a couple matches in, and they kind of like feel things out. So just throw in Bob and the Goblin, and eventually he'll develop his own personality.
And that is true. That goes for D&D as well. Like I'll play a brand new character. I have to play that character 3 or 4 times before I have any concept of what this character is. And that same thing for wrestling. Like they give Vince or whoever gives them a gimmick, they try to run with it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But usually it takes a while before you really start to flesh out that character.
So, being the new year, there is a wave of just new fun things that we get to talk about. And the last thing I ever thought we would talk about is a pinball machine.
I was going to talk about this too, so go for it.
So, let's see, what are the specifics? You had them here.
Yeah, I don't have them pulled up, unfortunately. I watched the video a couple of days ago. But I liked some of the voice actors they had for the pinball.
Oh shit. I closed the window.
Dungeons and Dragons, The Tyrants Eye.
That's what it is.
It's only $7,000. It's only $7,000.
It's more than the $7,000. There's 3 different versions of the machine. Okay, there's like the standard edition, then there's the premium, and then there's the premier edition or something like that.
The limited edition.
Yeah, and I think the most expensive one is like $13,500 for a pinball machine. Like I don't know how or what that thing is supposed to be. Like I watched a video where they actually went through playing the game, and you actually have to create a character. Okay, like you create a character by just selecting the ones that are available up there, and then you go through and you have to start questing. So they give you your first quest, and monsters show up on the thing, and you got to hit the pinballs in the right spot to do damage to the monsters that show up. And at a certain point in time, I don't know where the line between this is just a video game with pinball flippers and just being a real, actual, pinball game is. I remember the pinball games like the Addams Family, Terminator 2, the one when arcades still existed. So I don't even know where this thing's supposed to go.
Well,
like
I do.
Arcades.
Yes,
yeah, there are. There are a lot of them
in Atlanta. Well, just outside of Atlanta, in Avondale Estates. There's a great destination. Little shout out to them. My parents' basement. It is a bar that has a excellent lineup of modern pinball machines in it, and they have pinball tournaments almost every weekend.
Wow.
And these are, and when I say modern, I'm talking modern. This is their current lineup of 15 pinball machines. Attack from Mars, Batman 66, Gomez and Sheets for Stern 2017, Cactus Canyon, Deadpool, Foo Fighters, Godzilla, Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man, Borg, James Bond 007, Jaws, John Wick, Jurassic Park, Pulp Fiction, Stranger Things, Eddie Ropp for Stern, Star Wars Pro, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and another one called Richie Sullivan for Stern. But like this, then they swap out machines frequently. So I imagine as soon as this thing comes out, it will be there. So I'm actually going to go check it out whenever it does.
Well, you have to record playing it because it does look really intense and like very complicated. Like I guess it maybe it's just me. Like I just thought pinball's just getting the high score, and that's all it was.
Not anymore.
So like,
nah.
I don't know how to play through a campaign. Like, well, on the Nintendo, there was like a game called Pinball Quest. Okay, and it was one of my most favorite NES games, probably in my top 5, if not definitely top 10.
Wow.
And in there, you're a little pinball, and you got to basically work your way up through a bunch of levels. Okay, so like it's a pinball screen. It usually could slide up and down to have like one giant board. And then once you click all the keys and you fight the boss and you beat the boss with the pinball, you go into a shopping stage where you have to buy items like extra flippers and like, bouncers and stuff like that to make you not fall into the hole and stuff like that. And then like eventually you go through like 8 or 9 stages and you fight the boss and you save the girl pinball. And it was just incredibly fun to play it, and they also have like a classic pinball mode. It had a lot of games on it for an NES cartridge. So I'm assuming this is something like this, but it's just one board. So you can see pictures of the board, and like they have different areas where like you can do different quests. There's like different dungeon areas in there where you can like secret doors you can launch the pinball into. There's like a shield spell that pops up that will stop your pinball from falling down below, and you can activate that whenever you want to. It's got a red dragon head in it that shoots out multi-ball. The gelatinous cube is pretty cool because like you get your ball stuck in it and you have to get another ball in there to like knock it free and stuff like that. It's definitely very D&D, and it looks extremely complicated. So
let me read what I've got on the Stern Pinball website. In celebration of 50 years of the world's greatest role-playing games, Stern Pinball players worldwide will be brought on an epic and thrilling journey as they adventure into the Forgotten Realms, featuring iconic enemies including a red dragon, gelatinous cube, a mimic, Samaster the Lich, Xanathar the Beholder, and Owlbear, and locations including those in Faerun, such as Arabelle and Westgate. And the voices, some of the voice actors for this thing are, let's see, Michael Dorn, Kevin Smith, Luke Gygax.
Michael Dorn was Dwarf, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Prynoski, I don't know him. Brendan Small, Gerard Way, Matt Mercer, Laura Bailey, Marisha Ray, and 2 other people I've never heard of, Anthony Carboni and Mika Burton.
Huh.
So that's a hell of a lineup to do voices for a pinball game.
Didn't know Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance did
Yeah,
pinball
apparently.
voicing, but here we are.
Yep, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Matt Mercer, not surprised. Luke Gygax, not surprised, but the other ones, yeah, pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, getting Michael Dorn and Kevin Smith to do it, that's kind of
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean,
Kevin Smith probably plays D&D, let's be honest. But I don't know about Michael Dorn, but they still got him, so.
like I really want to play it. I love pinball. But like there's nowhere here in Charleston to play pinball. Like no one has any pinball machines, or especially any new ones anywhere. So
yeah, the trick is finding the new ones to play. Like I would love to play this Dungeons and Dragons one, but Lord knows when I'd ever find it. Dan and Christian, since you guys are in Atlanta, if you ever make your way to Chattanooga, which is only a couple hours away, they have the classic arcade pinball museum. If you've not been there, it is quite a treat. It's $20.
Okay.
It's $20 for adults, 16 for kids. Play all day for free, or for $20. So
All right.
There's
And-
a place that we went to a birthday party at a couple of years ago that's like that over in Loganville. Actually, it's not a pinball museum, obviously, but it's $20, play it as much as you want, sort of thing.
okay, yeah, I mean, that is cool. But they've got. I'm not even gonna list them all, but they do have the 1987 Dungeons and Dragons pinball there.
Nice.
They got dozens of them. They have a Godzilla one, and mostly it's from the 80s and 90s.
I'm thinking of another place that you could probably end up playing this. DragonCon frequently has an arcade there, and includes like probably 20 pinball machines that are rented out from local places that actually have them. So I would imagine you'll be able to play it there too.
Hmm.
So all I had to do was Google Charleston pinball for you, Chris. I see multiple places to play pinball.
There's
Yeah.
not. They don't exist.
Carolina Coin Amusement.
Didn't you just get in trouble with making this a
Charleston
WCW
Fun
or
Park.
AEW podcast because you refused to actually take 5 seconds to Google something?
Yes, he did.
I was
Yeah.
just checking.
Pinky and Clyde's Arcade Bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd go there. That place looks freaking awesome.
No, it's just a bar with a couple of machines.
They have a Godzilla and Venom pinball machine in there.
Yeah,
Alright, well,
here's the thing. You're never going to be able to just go into just an arcade. Yes, much like having a comic book store, you need to have something else there. Like my parents' basement is a great restaurant, is a bar, has pinball machines, and also has a bunch of comic books there. So it's kind of an all-in-one thing. You're not just going to be able to just walk in and play pinball games with your kids, most likely.
no.
Yep.
You know, to be honest, when you called that place my parents' basement the first time, I thought you were actually legitimately saying my parents' basement.
You know, the first time somebody said that to me, I felt the same way. I was like, are we going to your parents' basement to play games?
We're going to your parents' house? Okay.
Yeah, can I come hang out with your parents? Like that sounds amazing.
No pinball machines in my parents' basement, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like I know Battle and Brew in the Atlanta area. Like they don't do arcades per se, but it's a mix of things. You know.
Yeah, at Battle and Brew, like they classed it up a couple of years ago. It actually got to the point where I didn't like it anymore because it used to be just kind of like we had a bunch of gaming systems, kind of LAN party atmosphere, and you had a stage where you played Rock Band on, and that was it. Now it became like a full-fledged bar and got, I don't know, too fancy.
Yeah, I haven't been since they moved several years ago, so I don't know what it is anymore. But yeah, it was sort of grimy and grungy. And
Yeah.
It was a dive bar for nerds.
Yeah.
And now it's trying to, I don't know, put on airs, but it's like a frat party that has a nerd theme. They've lost their way, and they're still sort of saying it, but they don't really. They're just trying to, I don't know, get a buckhead kind of clientele. I don't know.
no, Lord no.
Yeah, aren't they in Roswell now?
Yeah,
that area.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So there's also another place in Charleston, Chris, called The Break, which apparently has a lot of pinball games. I'm looking at a picture, and there's like a couple dozen in there.
Some of these places I know and have been to and do not have any pinballs games. So basically, there's two. There's The Break and Pinky and Clyde's Arcade Bar. So
yeah, I mean, if you just Google it, there's like a dozen places that come up. I know most of those don't have anything, but there's still a couple places near you, so you can't complain that you can't go play pinball because there it is.
That's right, there are none. So, anyways, I in our podcast chat on our Discord, which you should definitely join. Find our Facebook page. There's a link to it, and watch the video that Stern Pinball put out, where they went through an entire game of their Dungeons and Dragons Tyrants Eye pinball. It's pretty cool. And they actually have Luke Gygax on it and doing some of the voice work and stuff like that. So it's definitely something very interesting. It's definitely capitalizing on the idea that Cynthia Williams wanted to a couple years ago, and Chris Cox, where they wanted to start monetizing D&D more and bringing it out to more people, and stretch the IP further.
I'm waiting for them to move to Hollywood and just start doing loads of cocaine.
The cycle comes full circle.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the Secret Level Dungeons and Dragons episode is the most viewed of the Secret Level episodes that came out.
I wonder how much they had to pay to be the first one on there.
And I think, and that's my kind of question: is it the most viewed because it's the first one, or is it the most viewed because that's what people wanted to watch?
Well, I think the two biggest IPs on there are probably D&D and Warhammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, it being the first one also doesn't hurt.
No.
Yeah, because those are big IPs that are played by a lot of it. Like they had some cool video games and stuff on there, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially for some of the stuff like I don't know what was one of the games, Sifu or stuff like is a game I've heard of. Like I knew it was a video
that was a
game.
cool episode, but I had no idea it was a video game until I.
Yeah, so there's just you're less likely to be tuned into it. But where Warhammer and D&D, those are things you know what they are. You're not interested in them. You're still aware of them and have a general sense of what that's probably about.
Yep. Yeah, Pac-Man and Mega Man, like they're nostalgic, but they're not really what I'd call massive IPs outside.
And I'm going to go ahead and
just
go
the
out on a
video
limb
game.
here and say the episode of Pac-Man is nothing like the Pac-Man you remember from the arcade
Yeah,
at all.
I still haven't watched that one. I haven't seen it.
Oh man, you're in for a treat.
I've seen a couple people compare it to Oddworld and Abe's Odyssey, and it kind of does match it a little bit, but still, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But
Okay, let me see this.
But it is really cool that episode is doing well, and people did resonate well with it. So I think even if it wasn't first, I think people still would have liked it and watched it. Like I said, my wife watched it. I know a bunch of other people that watched just that episode and really enjoyed it. But also there was an article that I found that I ran across from website ICV2, where they were talking about Hasbro signing a D&D gambling license.
No.
They're going to release the game is called Dungeons and Dragons Tales of Riches from Neon Valley Studios. It's supposed to be released in Q1 of 2025. So in a couple months. And it says global games will harness the world's greatest role-playing game to create an immersive, high-engagement slot experience, giving operators a chance to tap into the global franchise.
Okay,
and
so this is not stuff that we're going to see like on video game platforms. This is stuff you're going to see in casinos and other slot machines. So
the Dungeons and Dragons slot machine, the one-armed bandit.
Now, so I have to ask: have you guys seen some of the slot machines and pachinko machines that they have in Japan?
I've seen videos and pictures, sure.
Like
I've seen some of those in addition to some of the weird ones they have here, like the Squid Game based one, because my wife works for a company that is in the gambling area. They manufacture and produce these gambling games. So yeah, I've seen a lot of weird.
I mean, did you see the one where basically they put you like in a pilot seat to play the pachinko game? And then, like, as you play, a Gundam transforms around you, and then you have to fight as the Gundam as the pachinko balls fall and shit like that.
Yeah,
that looks like like you've taken slots and gone completely crazy. It's all random, but somehow you're turning into a Gundam and fighting stuff. So if they can somehow tap into, you just start putting money into the slot machine, and all of a sudden you're a fighter, and you're slaying dragons, and somehow it becomes immersive, and you're
That's a dangerous area to tap into.
Yep. Yeah, that is all what they're trying to do. Is these gambling companies try to find properties that people already like that might be able to draw in different types of people to their casinos and stuff. So they can go, hey, we can make a thing where like we can find a Dungeons & Dragons pinball game and then Dungeons & Dragons slot machine and whatever their other gambling card-based game, video poker thing they could put on there. And we could make a whole like nerd section of it here where we can draw in those people to come out to Vegas.
So did you guys see how much money Monopoly Go made earnings they announced earlier last year?
I know it was a lot because it was one of their it was basically
one of their highlight features.
Yeah, it's like D&D Magic and Monopoly Go. That's what made them money.
So yeah, in November 19th, they announced that since its release in 2023, it made $3 billion. If they're trying to spread the IP around, I'm surprised they don't have a D&D game much like Monopoly Go. Maybe they haven't found the right thing that works for them yet. But there's plenty of just gotcha games out there that
That's
you
what
could easily slap the license onto. I'm surprised
I
they just
will.
haven't
I will
done
be
it yet.
surprised if we don't see relatively soon, in the next year or two, a gacha game based on D&D, where it's that it all runs off of FOMO. You got to get the new character releasing. Oh, this is Dritz Stewart, and so now you got to get him. And yeah, those games print money.
Yeah.
I don't even know what Monopoly Go is or how it works.
I don't know either. I'm gonna guess if it's like a lot of these other mobile games, is you have a certain amount of. They all basically come down to, like, you have a certain amount of resources, like, so you can do a certain number of actions in whatever type
Yeah.
it is. Monopoly, you have a certain number of dice rolls. Some of these other games, you have a certain amount of energy that you can as a hero, that you can go on X number of quests until your energy's gone.
And for $4.99, you can get
Yes,
more actions.
there you go.
Yep.
There you go. And then if you want to keep going, or if you want to get, better dice or skins for your hero, or this special thing that you can, apply and change one of the dice rolls, or you get a magic sword for your questing hero, like everything else other than just the, like, I get to do like 4 things in a day, costs extra.
Yeah, it's like that Diablo garbage they released a few years back that made them a shitload of money.
Same thing, because it operated on that same principle of, we can release a free thing that, 90% of our player base will play and not pay anything. But the people that do pay a lot.
Yep. Yeah, it's like Chris on Overwatch.
Well, that's how gambling in general works. Most people that goes to casinos are not big spenders, but
Yeah.
the whales are the ones that pay for everything.
Yeah, I am absolutely the kind of person that casinos fucking hate. I've been to a casino twice. The first time I went in there, I gave myself $40 to spend. I walked out with 120. And the second time I went in there, I had $10 for a slot machine. That was all I was spending on it because I just wanted to say, hey, I played a slot machine. I went in there, I pulled the fucking thing and won $200 and walked out of there.
Yeah.
I don't have that gambling addiction.
Yeah, but they know that people do, and they know they can tempt people, especially in these games. They do in gacha games. They do a thing they usually have some. They're all based on, a lot of the ones that I've seen at least are based off of characters. They want you to collect these different cool characters, but you can't just like buy the character. You buy what's called like a warp or a wish, or you buy a chance at getting the character. And so they usually have some amount of, like, after you spent 100 tries, you'll definitely get it. But up until then, like, it's all just a random chance with a very small chance of getting the actual thing that you want. And they know that, hey, when we release characters that people like, people will pay to get them. People will pay if you have a character and then you get Dritz to earn it, but you got to get Twinkle and Icing Death too, right?
Yeah.
So now you got to. So people will pay for that, and so the way they do it is they make it limited time. They say, okay, well, this thing is going to be out for 2 months, and then it's gone for an undisclosed period of time before he shows up again in rotation. So it preys on that. Well, I got to get it now, right? I got it because I don't know when he'll come back. I don't know if I'll get another chance.
As all of us play Overwatch consistently, we're very familiar with this mode of doing things. Like Dan,
it's very predatory.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we played Team Fortress 2 with the fucking keys and the things like that for a long time, and then they've just expanded on it from there with Overwatch and everything.
Yeah.
And D&D or WotC will absolutely be doing that in some form or fashion.
Yeah, and if they limit it to this kind of stuff, like some gambling company they made a deal with and it's going to license their IP, I don't care. I really think that they could almost take the Games Workshop, just kind of license out their stuff to whoever the heck wants it. They don't care. They're like, look, we make our miniatures war game. We make plenty of money off that. If you want to pay us money to make a shitty video game that no one plays, go for it, man.
Yeah.
Make your crappy game. I got money for you paying me for the license.
Yeah.
So there is a game. Originally, it came out like a decade or more ago called Idle Champions.
Mhm.
And it was some generic game that you could find off of like the Congregate or like Newgrounds that existed where you could just play flash games. And it was just a flash game. But the game was fairly successful and it made a lot of money. So they either reached out to license the D&D brand or they got reached out to, and they made Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. It's the same exact game, but with a skin of just D&D over it. So when you make your party, you're making your party of paladins and, you know, warriors and wizards and gnome wizards and shit like that. But eventually they start doing all the FOMO and gotcha stuff where they start having like the D&D kids, a bunch of I think Roll20, Dimension 20, whatever it is, that they have their characters on there. Of course, they've had like the Dritz package and stuff like that, and so
Baldur's Gate. When Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate, I remember seeing the advertisements of, log on now and you get Asterion.
Yeah, and so like you can buy the package that has Minsk and Boo in it, and it's like $20 or something like that, and you get all those. And it's just pretty much it's an idler. You just stand there and your characters beat everybody up, and you upgrade them, and you buy them better equipment and shit like that. And you just stand there and generate money. It was fun for the 20 hours I played it when it was originally, but I never played Idle Champion. Well, I can't say that. I think I did play Idle Champions for a little bit, but it's not really a game that kept my attention.
They've already sort of started doing things like this with the VTT, you know, because you get the gold dragon if you pre-order it or whatever.
Yeah.
But you got to get in early, otherwise you don't get the gold dragon
Yep,
mini.
the same thing that video games do with the pre-order.
Mhm.
It's not even out released yet, so you don't know how much you're gonna like it. But go ahead and pay us for it, and you get this like weird digital bonus. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how much more they bend the license, because there's already plenty of fucking dumb shit out there that's D&D brand stuff, plushies and tiny miniatures, the Lego things that came out last year, and not all of it is terrible. Most of it's fairly okay.
I enjoy my little Lego Lady of Pain minifig.
Yeah. I mean, so it's cool, and I don't want it to get too annoying, you know, where everyone else just kind of gets tired of the brand and moves on. Like I want D&D to still be what people call tabletop gaming. You know, we kind of talked about a little bit of that last week, where like, you know, I'm gonna go play some D&D. What D&D you playing? Pathfinder, you know, that kind of thing.
I think there's kind of two approaches you can kind of take with it. Is D&D right now seems to be taking the approach of they kind of want to pick and choose where they want to license, and they want to kind of control their image with it. Whereas you look at Games Workshop just like says, hey, come get your license. But they never advertise any of that stuff. They say, we make tabletop war games, and they never talk about any of the licensed products or anything. They just tabletop war game.
Yeah.
So they keep their arms distance from. They're like, yeah, we'll license out our stuff, but that's not us.
Yep. We're very hands off. If they make a shitty game, it wasn't us.
Yeah, and I think that's what you have to do. You can take that approach of I will give my license to anyone that wants to take a shot at making something. They're paying me, I get money, and they get to make a shot at making their own money, and we stay out of it. Or you can take the kind of what D&D right now seems to be doing is like, we want to protect our image and our brand, and so we're going to be super choosy with how we, you know, distribute the license or allow people to license.
Yeah, like I said, I hope it's successful, and I just hope they don't get too diluted. That's really all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we already know that they've sort of kind of jumped the shark with things. WotC loves to do that. They've done it heavily with Magic the Gathering. D&D has sort of done it, but D&D is not so oversaturated at this point. You're not seeing it on TV constantly. You don't have a million movies out there of it, so it's got a long ways to grow before you ever get to the point where you're just sick and tired of Dungeons and Dragons.
I mean, they're not the Hello Kitty vibrator, but I just hope they never go there.
Oh Lord, the Tarask! Come by the Tarask.
The Tarask fleshlight. Oh. I grossed myself out. You guys have to do the rest of the podcast. I'm going to be back.
And good night.
Yeah, he's gotta go throw up
And on
somewhere.
that note,
Don't look at me, Tarask. You stay on the closet shelf.
Oh man, I have an ecology if we want to talk about one for the week.
yeah,
I was
always.
working on an ecology too, but
Oh, okay. Well,
What
mine,
do you do?
yeah,
New year, start off strong.
mine is less of it is the ecology, but I'm not going over the entirety that we always do. So I'll do mine, and then you can actually go over a proper ecology if you want, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, so I looked up an article, "The Ecology of the Beholder." This is
God
from.
damn it! That's literally the one I'm working on.
Oh,
Really?
Well,
wow, fucking small world. Well, okay, let's talk. Okay,
I
well,
literally have Dragon Magazine 76 open right now and highlighted.
I'm staring at it right now. Man, we're on the same
Jeez.
wave. We're on the same wavelength here.
All right,
man.
go ahead and do your portion, and I'll pull up the stuff I've been digging through.
You'll probably have a lot more to add to it than I will, because the only thing I looked up was this version of it. I didn't go digging into more beyond first edition, Beholder.
Mhm.
I actually just wanted to make an argument for the Beholder. Beholders are birds. That's my argument. Beholders are actually birds after reading this first edition. So they fly, correct?
Mhm.
All beholders fly.
Right.
And according to this article, they lay eggs.
Well, they don't exactly lay eggs, so we'll go over that in a minute.
Yeah, but new beholders, unlike what Chris would have you believe, are birthed from eggs. Therefore, beholders are flying birds. They're not chickens. I can't call them chickens, but they're some sort of weird bird. But the other thing that was we'll definitely dig into the whole laying eggs thing here shortly. The other thing that I really thought was interesting was trying to figure out how they fly, and it actually does cover that in there. Apparently, they have an organ that is inside their brain that is called the levator magnus.
Yep.
So that's got to be a fucking component for something.
Oh, absolutely.
So
But if you can summon / make it spectator with a beholder eye stock, what can you make with or summon with a levitator magnus?
Yeah, with a levator magnus. I don't know. By the way, this article also proves that everything Volo wrote about beholders for 5th edition is full of shit and wrong. Because
Volo knows he's an
Volo's
expert
never wrong.
ophthalmologist, and in addition to being a renowned lore expert, so I feel like this article is wrong, and Volo knows what he's talking about.
I love the fact that they would release all of that information in 5th edition about beholders dreaming other beholders into existence and knowing full and well that it's just fucking incorrect.
God, I hope so. Yeah.
Hey, look, are you trying to call Volo an unreliable narrator?
No, I would never say such a
Yeah,
thing.
you would never. He'd
about
write
such
something
a
really bad about you.
I would never say anything that poor about a renowned ophthalmologist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Dan, take us through the beholder.
Yeah, dig into it.
Oh my God. Okay, so I also read through the actual official ecology of the beholder. Just to add on to what Jay said, I'm going to say that it's not a bird. It is not. It's not a vertebrate at all. It is not winged, and it definitely has a magical organ that keeps it aloft. Not actual doing any work. It just fucking floats. So they specifically say that no magical spell or device can negate this levitation, though beholders cannot resist the push of a great wind. So maybe a gust of wind spell, hurricane, something like that.
Birds don't. Yeah, birds can't deal with the wind either.
That's true. Counterpoint. So it specifically says it has 10 eye stalks plus the giant eye in the center, which is the anti-magic eye. Everyone kind of knows that. The diet of beholders, however, is widely varied. Of necessity, of course, since they can easily defeat most creatures and thus soon exhaust their food supply in any given area. It is not known what their actual lifespan is, though one has been known to live at least 900 years. Though evil, they are prone to lawfulness, and they may take on servants by duress or charm to serve as their guardians or guardians of treasure, or as guardians of the beholder's personal safety. See Xanatar. Now we come to reproduction. Once a year, every beholder lays a clutch of 1 to 4 eggs, about 1 foot in diameter, by expelling them from the internal organ that produces eggs and spitting the eggs from its mouth. These eggs are dead white, spherical, and leathery in texture and appearance. They have a repulsive odor that repels predators, but which unfortunately leads the more dedicated foes of the eye tyrants unerringly to the clutch.
Yep.
It goes on to say basically they never actually lay the eggs in its lair. They typically find a very high, rocky, desolate height to lay them, and they never go back to see them. They're like, if they hatch, they hatch. The whenever the beholder egg hatches, it will be 3 feet in diameter. And the young beholder then expands suddenly, splitting the shell apart, and is free. At this time, it eats its own shell, and is immediately capable of using all of the powers of its parent. Its bite is less powerful, much like an unefficient dagger strike. No words there.
Yep.
And the lifespan of the beholder, very long indeed, up to at least 900 years. Guy goes on to say, what's the best way to defeat a beholder? Well, don't fight them, first off. Second, the best way to kill one, the little eye that performs telekinesis will come into play first to hurl missiles at its opponents, catch light opponents, and cast them into the air or to be dropped or deflect oncoming missiles one at a time. Perhaps the best way to slay a beholder, however, is to have a mass of archers that are stout and well paid try to slay it from range. But also to have many men-at-arms and fighters about to defeat its servants. And that's, of course, if you end up fighting it like in an open field, because it's just going to levitate up and just ray you to death before you can really do anything, because fighter with 3 attacks isn't going to matter.
Unless he has a bow.
And, of course, in this article, it kind of goes over if you have a powerful paladin with a holy sword, such a person could possibly catch the beholder in its underground lair, would stand a fairly good chance of closing with it to destroy it in combat. It also has like a nice chart of different abilities that it used to have in, I guess, 1st and 2nd edition. Gives some alternate stats for a baby beholder, basically.
Yeah.
And it's kind of neat. And I think like last week, which is probably why you were also thinking of beholders, because I think Chris got a beholder mini or something, and then sent a photo to all of us, which got me to thinking about beholders. But the first time that the art of the beholder ever appears is on the cover of Supplement 1 Greyhawk by Gygax and Kuntz from 1976. And it's just a man-at-arms, which is actually just a traced copy of another man-at-arms from, like, I don't know, another wargaming magazine earlier. And just the silliest damn image you can think of. It is just kind of a derpy-looking basketball with, like, a very simple eyeball in the center, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 tentacles on this one.
Oh man, that's a greater beholder.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that's the first time that it appears. But I just flipped through this PDF I have of Greyhawk, and I don't actually see it mentioned anywhere. Oh, actually, hold on a second. Behold, it's actually under Lich's. Here we go. All the stats that you get from it is it has 1 bite and does 2 to 5 plus special. 90% in this lair. Gives an armor class, only 1 appearing. Gives it amount of magic treasure it has. Okay, here we go. Actually, there's a little bit in here. These monsters are also known as Sphere of Many Faces or as Eye Tyrants. The body of these creatures is a great globe of around 3 feet in diameter. Atop it are 10 eye stalks, while in the center of the spherical body is a great 11th eye. The body can sustain 40 points of damage. Each eye stalk, 10 points, and the central eye can withstand up to 20 points. And this actually kind of jives with what it said in the Dragon magazine, because it actually kind of dictates how much damage each part of the beholder's body can take, which I'm glad we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's
and
an
then
old
different
school
AC, because the AC of the body is 0. It takes 2/3 of the hit point total of the beholder before it's slain. Hit AC 7 for the main 11th eye takes 1/3 of the hit point total. AC 2 for each eye stalk, so you can like aim for each individual eye stalk and do up to 12 points. Jesus Christ, that is so complicated. I'm so glad we've done away with this complication.
So for anyone who's not familiar with that, an AC of 0 is going to be roughly an armor class of 20. I guess an AC of 2 is probably about a 17 AC.
It's
give or take, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's certain things that I think make sense for having different hit point totals, like a Hydra and 8 heads or something like that. That's cool because that makes sense.
Yeah,
like
every eye stalk though shouldn't. No,
yeah, you don't need to do that, and I don't want people making a called shot against the main eye either.
Yeah,
which I guess you could do in first and second edition, but and the stats are very similar in second. When you get to second edition, that has magic resistance as well. And I'm looking at the 5th edition version of Beholder. I'm going to leave it to Chris to pull up 4th edition stats. I don't really understand 4th edition stats. As Jay had mentioned, Volo does describe dreaming beholders and other nonsense in Volo's Guide to Monsters. But as far as stats wise, 18 AC, 180 HP, flies and hovers at 20. CR 13 or 14 when it's encountered in its lair. It's got the anti-magic cone, which does basically exactly the same thing it did back in the earlier editions. Anti-magic, as in the anti-magic field spell, in a 150-foot cone. At the start of each of its turns, the beholder decides which way the cone faces and whether the cone is active. So essentially, it disables the spellcaster in a cone effect, and then uses rays on people that are not in the cone effect, because it also can't attack somebody in the cone with its own rays because anti-magic.
Yep.
But it's got all pretty much all the same rays too: death ray, disintegration, petrification, sleep, telekinesis, enervation, slow, fear, paralyze, and charm.
So one thing that was interesting about this 1st edition article though is the cone, the eye cone specifically. It actually says in this article, the ray is faintly visible beam of grayish light extending out from the eye in a conical shape up to 140 yards. The cone is a foot across at the eye and reaches 10 feet at the diameter at its greatest extent. The beam will focus up on one target at a time and may be shifted to keep track of a moving opponent. So basically what they're saying is that it could only anti-magic one person at a time.
Yeah, but like the 150-foot cone is enormous because it just keeps expanding. It goes to 5 feet, 10 feet.
No, it says it reaches 10 feet at the maximum.
Yeah, in 1st edition, but I mean in 5th edition, it's huge. It's actually, in my opinion, to the detriment of the beholder, because it can't just disable one person. You got to
turn your back to try to kill them with eye rays.
However, I mean, I guess you play it a little differently, because if you disable one person with an anti-magic cone in 1st edition, I guess it might be a little bit different, because movement and initiative was a little bit different then too. So like maybe you would actually be disabled when you start your turn. Maybe you couldn't actually cast your spell. Whereas if it was just a single person in 5th edition and I'm disabled as a wizard, I walk 5 feet to the right and I'm cast a Scorching Ray or something. So, it's interesting. I've only used, I think, Beholder once, and actually it was a variant of the one that was in Chris's module. It was the Ice Beholder that you wrote up, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And they had fun with that.
That was fun. As someone that took part in that encounter, it was fun. It was neat to see something that was totally different. So even though I knew what it could do, so my reaction was just like, I'm just gonna run away. So I don't want to give stuff away.
Yeah,
but it was really cool to see that, and to see everyone else be very like, these are experienced, D&D players, be kind of confused and a little worried about, okay, not only is it a beholder, but it's a weird beholder that we don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's the fourth edition change in a nutshell. All the beholders were weirdly different. So like that ice one was pretty much me just taking the fourth edition ice beholder, changing it up a little bit to make it work for fifth edition and how things kind of work. But it didn't have a cone that this was an anti-magic field. Its cone basically gave you frost vulnerability, and there was a fire variant, there was a lightning variant. There were shadow beholders whose eyes did different shadowy like status effects and stuff like that. So like that was generally what fourth edition added to the beholder mindset, which just doesn't exist anymore, to the detriment, I think, to beholders.
I generally like rare variants of creatures. Obviously, if you see a beholder, probably 95% of them should just be normal beholders. But every so often, you get that weird one in there, and you're not going to know how to fight it. Like trolls, a stone troll or a fire troll. These things are outside of the ordinary, and it definitely will throw players off their game.
Yeah,
and that's actually why I really try to delve into third-party rewritings of reimaginings of monsters. It usually keeps
Yep.
the same CR and the same difficulty level, but it's I'm playing with some friends that I've been playing with for 20 plus years. Like we've seen the same sort of monsters. If I just sling a beholder out there, everyone's like, "Oh, it's beholder. It's all right. We'll just we're gonna fight a
We know
beholder
what to
like we
do.
fight a beholder." But like if you just alter it just a little bit, or give it a different action or something like that, it does a lot of extra stuff. Because even just looking at the different quote unquote sub races on the Forgotten Realms wiki of different beholders that have existed in previous editions, there's a ton of them.
Oh, yeah.
The blood-kissed beholder, the death
Yep.
tyrant, which I totally remember those being just dangerous as hell in the old gold box edition D&D games. The
Mhm.
Doom Sphere, the one that beholder that rises as a ghost, an
Yeah.
Elder Orb, uh, born with amazing longevity and near immortality, Eyes of Flame, the Eye of Frost, which I think is the one that
Yep.
Chris remade. The Eye of Shadow, the Hive Mother. I mean, all kinds of
That
stuff.
one sounds terrifying.
Oh yeah. This looks like it's from. Let's see here. It's from fourth. Actually, it's from fourth edition.
Oh.
Well, there's a version in fourth edition, but it looks like there's also a version in what is this? Tyrant.
That's 2E. There's a 2E version of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's a
have
book
that.
called Tyrant. You have
Yes.
that book? That's
Yeah.
awesome. I've never seen this before. That's fantastic. Oh yeah. Oh my god. I got to get this book now. Like there's 14 chapters on beholders, boys.
One of my favorite variants is the Gouger, which is basically a beholder. He doesn't have the eye stalks anymore, but his eye cone still exists. And he basically has this long barbed tongue that he just lashes at you with. Like, he licks you to death.
Oh yeah, that's something we didn't mention because it doesn't really matter. They've got a big gaping mouth that does a decent amount of damage. I mean, even in 5th edition, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, but why would you ever use it? It's 4d6 piercing, but only +5 to hit.
Because when someone's paralyzed and you take a big old bite out of them, they're fucking dead.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's a fireball damage on a single person.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder too, like, because everyone says that the Volos book is the standard and that's where beholders are from dreams. Like, is that what the real answer is, or is it the egg thing? I really don't.
In my heart, it is definitely the egg. Like these fuckers vomit up eggs on a rocky outcropping somewhere for some poor adventurers to find a clutch of four young beholders.
Yeah. So here's the thing to think about.
Maybe it's different for different beholders.
Maybe.
Well, and then that's probably true too. But
I don't know.
All I want to get at
Tyrant book.
all I want to get at is that the Xanathar in the current D&D 5e canon has a dream nullifier device that he built or had built for him, so he doesn't dream up new beholders. And it's specifically stated that he needs that device, or else he'll dream up beholders. And there is a lair in his lair full of dead beholders that's being, worked on by one of his necromancer guys. And essentially, if he's not in the dream nullifier, he will dream up a new beholder, the Xanathar Guild has to stop that beholder, and they use them as kind of like shock troops against people.
Sounds like to me that Xanathar's been listening to too much of Volo.
So did the
There is
Xanathar just
actually-
like
before-
read up what
there is
Volo said
some
and shit?
precedent.
Oh shit!
No, there is some precedent before this. I forget where it comes from. I don't think it's from iTyrant. They'll have to find that and look at it. But there is some precedent before this of beholders possibly either reproducing or influencing the world from, based on their dreams or nightmares. Not every dream, but just like certain like intense sort of kind of waking dreams or nightmares could produce another beholder or could alter reality in certain ways.
Yeah,
And those are things that are trying to kind of where they tried to take the beholder and be like, all right, instead of just making this a weird, like, how can we make this like emphasize its really like alien nature, that this is not a normal creature, that this is an aberration, a thing that is not of this world, that is not supposed to be.
Yeah. So like I'd really like to hear what Ed would say. And probably Ed's not the right guy to give us the definitive.
Ed wrote the ecology article.
He sure did.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, then.
So there you go.
Fuck.
Yeah, first, second, third edition, and I looked at all first, second, and third. They always laid eggs. That there might be something that in one of the millions of books that are
Yeah,
out
I'm
there.
going to see if I can find a PDF of this iTyrant and skim it for some answers
Yeah.
next week. But I will also say in popular culture, I feel like John Carpenter probably played some D&D because I don't know if you boys remember Lopan's Guardian in Big Trouble in Little China. I just linked it in case you forgot.
Yep.
Looks like a beholder, except for copyright purposes, I assume he had it 2 eyes instead of one main eye. But it's got the little tentacles. It's got little eyeballs.
So Dan, just to point this out, because you've actually looked at the ecology of the beholder article, the artwork that is attached with it on the first page of that. I don't know if you still have it pulled up or not.
Yeah, I do.
That beholder right there. If you go back and watch the movie The Thing. Those tentacles, those eye stalks are straight out of that fucking movie.
Yeah, they are.
So there's almost certainly some crossover, whether or not the artist was just a fan of The Thing and decided to paint that, or perhaps they were talking to John Carpenter. I don't know.
That's great.
I do also remember
crazy.
there was a Dragon Magazine article. I can't remember if it was Dragon or Dungeon Magazine, but there was an article where they talked about it was for Alternity, but they picked some they're like, hey, here's some D&D creatures that make sense in Alternity, and they gave them their whole Alternity write-up of like how they acted and like what they would look like in the Alternity setting.
Fuck yeah.
They're like, yeah, beholders make sense as a weird alien creature. Like, this is a perfect alien monster thing to show up and have a sort of they talked about like the kind of spaceships that they would use for as a beholder.
Oh, I like
what
that.
would look like. Mind flayers were obvious ones to bring into the Alternity because they are aliens from beyond the stars. So
Yeah. So when I typed in D&D Hive Mother, because I was looking that up, the first website that pops up is lostspelljammer.org.
Oh.
Just helping to solidify that they're weird ass space creatures and belong in Alternity.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Hive Mother also appeared in Baldur's Gate 2, and also Neverwinter
Really?
Nights: Hordes of the Underdark. Yeah.
I vaguely remember that.
I definitely don't recall that, but
Not Baldur's Gate 2,
yeah,
but-
the original appearance of the Hive Mother was 1989 Jeff Grubb's Spelljammer AD&D Adventures in Space.
okay.
Page 69, apparently.
Yeah, just looking at these stats for the thing, like the Hive Mother is a nasty, nasty critter.
Oh yeah.
It's got your standard beholder stuff, but it has a brood of beholders that it can just mind control, basically, to do what it wants.
Last appearance was in third. Last statted appearance in official D&D material was in third edition.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Is third edition stats, but it also had the ability to swallow people whole.
I can't remember if this was in the prequel, like for the Adventures League prequel to Spelljammer, or if it was the actual Spelljammer book. But there is a Spelljammer that the beholders use, which is pretty much just a giant rock that they carved out of a moon or a planet or whatnot, and then carved their home into it. that's flown by a bunch of beholders. So their spelljammers just them in it.
It's just a
Mhm.
giant. It's a giant looking beholder type thing being flown by
Right.
beholders.
And so like
Pretty metal.
you're actually supposed to take it because it's empty, it's free of beholders. You're supposed to take it and infiltrate behind beholder space and go to a beholder plant to get something. You don't fight a beholder the entire time, which is really beneficial to the party because they're like level 3 at the time.
Yeah. I don't want to do that at level 3.
But
I don't really
like,
want to do that, honestly, at any level. There's a lot of risk involved.
Yeah, I
with
want to
your
say the
character.
alternative thing that had beholders was like they talked about how like normal people couldn't operate their ships because their ships were all operated by crystals that their eyes would look through to change functions on the ship. So you had to have like multiple eyes and be able to produce the right kinds of beams through the crystals to operate their spaceships.
yeah,
Fantastic.
this rock basically was already like modified with a spelljamming helm in it, in the proper room, but it was all just solid, smooth stone. So there's definitely not a lot of consistency between the writers as to what's what.
No, definitely not.
Which is really disappointing, but oh well.
I mean, you're talking about 5 decades worth of writers.
Yeah.
You're not going to get consistency and stuff like that. Just read comic books to learn that.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, for some as a I don't know, maybe a capstone, but I have found a neat thing here that I'm going to link in the chat. This is a website, and it has every second edition monster.
Oh man.
Oh boy,
And see them laid out
okay.
just like the old school.
Everybody
monster
hit
manual.
random monster and give me the first random monster that shows up.
I love this idea. Oh,
Here we go. Halak as Otz, the old man bat vampire.
Mine was perfect for me. I got Azamon Planetar from the Planescape Compendium.
Oh my god.
So mine, I immediately realized it was Planescape because of the artwork, the Dieter Lisi art. But I got the Vor, which is they're pack animals from Carcerai Abyss in the Outlands.
I got a snake.
Just a snake?
I got just a snake.
Just ye olde snake. Fantastic.
I came across this recently, and this is a really cool thing. The fact that you can hit random monsters that you can look through, like by campaign setting.
Oh yeah, this
I got a large white snake with one eye.
Yeah, this is straight up going
in
my it's going into my bookmarks now, just straight up on my homepage.
Thought this was worth bringing to everyone's attention.
All right, everybody, one more random monster before we wrap up the podcast.
All right.
Okay, I got a water cat.
I got Shaz, a race of insect humanoids that have adapted to Arctic temperatures. There is no picture available, so let your mind wander.
What's it from?
Forgotten Realms.
Okay.
Oh, I have a Netherese zombie. Oh shit, I'm gonna put that in my game on Friday. Hell yeah.
Oh fuck yeah.
Okay, this is interesting.
And as we've all learned, if you give ChatGPT this link and say convert this to 5e, it will do it for you fantastically well.
Oh man.
I got a Thought Eater, which is a native of the border ethereal that looks like an oversized
that's a fucking platypus.
Yeah. Yep, I'm very familiar with the Thought Eater. I actually had it. I think they're in like the second edition, just monster manual.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a platypus.
Yep, you could even use those in Dark Sun because they have psychic powers.
Yep.
I'm stealing this Thought Eater. I'm gonna use it.
Go for it.
This water cat looks weird as hell, though. Strange piece of art.
Fantastic site. I came across this, so recommended, and I've spent a lot of time just hitting random things or looking through old monsters. And it definitely has red steel as one of the campaign settings you could look through.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
Huh? So
including
I now have
Eternity
a version of the Netherese zombie.
Okay. So if we're not doing an ecology every week, we should just go over like everybody do a random monster that we go through the details of it.
Yep. Well, I honestly, what's odd is I haven't done an ecology yet, mostly because I don't have links to these old books. So
they're
They're
man,
just on the internet, man. Google.
yeah. That's all I do is I.
We already
Google
know
it.
he's not good at Google. Come on.
Yeah. He'll
I can't
he'll have to
Google.
beg his wife.
Ugh, there's
Yeah.
Listen, if you can find me a
Listen, ask Shelly
pinball,
to find it. All right.
if you can find me a pinball arcade in Charleston, I'll give you the podcast.
He already
okay.
did find you one.
Conveniently, half the podcast is already mine.
Nice.
I think it's a quarter now.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Actually, it's probably 1/5. Well, it's I don't own anything. Shelly owns it now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
God damn it.
So just one last note on the ecology. Looking through the 3rd edition book, Lords of Madness, there's an entire chapter on beholders, and they have some excellent diagrams of beholders, and like a section cut through them as if they were dissected. And it looks absolutely fantastic. The art in here is great, and there's this one also includes the Beholder Mage, the Elder Orb, Beholder feats, because everybody needs every unique monster type needs a feat. For whatever reason, there's like there's a 10 level prestige class for Beholder Mage if you wanted to serve beholders, I guess.
Oh wow!
What does a beholder taste like? Is that like a
What the hell?
Are there
octopus?
beholder? Yeah, probably. Well, no, I think it tastes like
Wait,
roly-poly.
disintegration finesse.
Oh, that's cool. Are there stats for playing a beholder as a PC race for 3rd edition? Because you could play mind flayers as an actual playable race in 3rd edition.
I'll have to get into it. I don't know just by skimming through it, but
Because
I will say the art of this is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't remember what book it was.
It was Lords of Madness.
No,
I'm
well,
looking at it
no,
right
no.
now.
Savage Species. That was the 3rd edition book that let you play monster races. But Beholder
Well,
was not one of them. So.
For 5th edition, let me clue you on to this guy. I like some of his stuff. It looks pretty good, but I'll just link to the chat. Mr. Rex. He has a YouTube channel. He also has a store where he has done monster classes. So it is you are an eye tyrant, but that is also your class, and then you can choose from one of your subclasses. But his stuff looks pretty good. Like he's solid.
The thing is, with a book like that, you could run a really fun, interesting campaign where everybody's playing monsters.
Yep.
That's I just posted Chat GPT's rendition of Beholder Mages.
5 different monster classes books where you have different things, so they're all pretty cool looking. So
yep, gonna add that to my list of things to look for.
Yep.
Awesome. Lots of good stuff this week, guys. Oh my god.
Yeah.
What the hell is that picture you just linked?
That is ChatGPT.
AI, baby.
Yeah, it's definitely AI. But that beholder is muscular with arms and legs.
Yes.
Yeah. That beholder definitely works out.
Yeah, he definitely lifts, bro. Oh my god.
God.
All right, I think we're done here.
Yeah, we're done here.
Later, guys. Bye, Craig. Beholders are birds.